Testing. Okay, I think that was part one, you guys. Let's go to part two and see how far we get. Um, okay, we're talking about American Express and cheating their small business and medium-sized business customers. Um, let's see, where were we? Okay, although the Forex business is small, accounting for less than half of a percentage point of Amex's total revenue, it is among a suite of services the company offers to its small business customers. Small business is a key growth area for Amex, which has long sought to distinguish itself from rivals J.P. Morgan Chase and Company and Citigroup by offering generous card-related benefits and tailored services to its consumer and business clients. Current and former employees say the division's commissions-driven culture fueled the practice. Here's how it worked. According to current and former employees, salespeople would often tell potential clients that Amex would beat the price they were paying banks or other financial institutions to convert currency and send money abroad. The salespeople didn't inform customers that the margin, a markup that Amex taxed onto the base currency exchange rate, was subject to increase without notice, they said. Prospective clients with certain Amex cards also were accurately told that they could earn points for the transactions, they added. Sometime later, salespeople would increase the margin without informing the customers, the current and former employees said. To spot the change, customers generally would have to log into their accounts and compare the rate Amex was offering to the market exchange rate at the time of the transaction. At the time of the transaction, as recently as this year, they said some customers had margins increase anywhere from 0.05 to 0.25 of a percentage point. In earlier years, margins rose by as much as 3 percentage points, according to former employees. When clients did notice a change and inquired, Amex salespeople sometimes would blame a glitch or other technicality and lower the margin, according to current and former employees and emails. Current and former employees said the division targeted smaller businesses in part because they are less likely than large corporations to have employees who closely track Forex transactions. Managers directed salespeople to keep the details of the payment arrangements hazy when speaking with potential customers and to avoid putting pricing terms in emails, current and former employees said. Managers in the division tapped the brakes on the practice in recent months, according to current and former employees, following an article published late last year alleging similar practices at Wells Fargo and Company. An Amex manager told salespeople they would need his approval before offering prospective clients a margin of less than 0.70 of a percentage point. Current and former employees said the price changes were common knowledge within the Forex business. Paul Hargraves, who ran Amex Global Foreign Exchange Services division for many years, was aware of their tactic, former employees said. Following a long career with Amex, he left the company earlier this year, Ms. Norville said. Mr. Hargraves couldn't be reached for comment. Current and former employees described an environment focused on bringing in as many new clients as possible and squeezing revenue out of them before they depart. Employees were told that the average Forex customer did business with Amex for around 3 years, they said. Who cares if they come or go? Let's make money while we have them, one current employee said, referring to the attitude within the division. We constantly reinforce the importance of acting in the best interest of our customers, said Amex spokesman Ms. Norville. Commissions are tied to monthly revenue targets, which are heavily influenced by margins and transaction volume, current and former employees said. Salespeople who hit their targets earn a commission of 15% of the monthly revenue new customers generate, according to current and former employees. Commissions rise to around 25% after an annual revenue target of as much as around $285,000 is exceeded, they said. Sales reports distributed by managers list how much revenue salespeople generate, they added. At Amex, rate increases often would occur after managers told salespeople to review their accounts and adjust the pricing, the current and former employee said. Some salespeople said they were encouraged to employ the tactic at the division's training program for new employees. One former employee said he was told during training to sign up as many accounts as he could in his early days and to go back later and adjust the rates upward to hit revenue targets. Let's see. Let's get into this other final part. It's very long. Let's see how far we can get, and then we'll do a part 3 probably. CFTC names 4 banking organizations. CFTC names 4 banking organization companies, a trading software design company, and 6 individuals in spoofing-related cases. The 6 individuals criminally charged, plus 2 more. On January 29th, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and the Department of Justice coordinated announcements regarding the filing of civil enforcement actions by the CFTC, naming 5 corporations and 6 individuals, and criminal actions by the DOJ against 8 individuals, including 6 of the same persons named in the CFTC actions for engaging in spoofing activities in connection with the trading of futures contracts on United States markets. 4 of the corporations, part of global banking organizations, simultaneously resolved their CFTC-brought civil actions. These 4 corporations were Deutsche Bank AG, its wholly owned subsidiary Deutsche Bank Securities Incorporated, UBS AG, and HSBC Securities USA Incorporated. DB and DBSI settled their CFTC enforcement actions by agreeing to jointly and severally pay a fine of US $30 million. UBS settled by consenting to a sanction of US $15 million, and HSBC settled by agreeing to a fine of US $1.5 million. The companies additionally agreed to continue to maintain surveillance systems to detect spoofing, ensure personnel promptly review reports generated by such systems, and follow up as necessary if potential spoofing conduct is identified, and maintain training programs regarding spoofing, manipulation, and attempted manipulation. Generally, DB, UBS, and HBC were charged for the spoofing activities of their employees on the Commodity Exchange Incorporated and gold and other precious metals futures contracts. This is very important, this part here, talking about gold and other precious metals futures contracts, mainly because a lot of people in the gold industry who buy gold and hold on to gold, they're very disappointed by the performance of gold because they've been suspecting that the price has manipulated for a long, long time. And this, I think, is definitely indicating that they are right. Again, let me read this. Generally, DB, UBS, and HSBC were charged for the spoofing activities of their employees on the Commodity Exchange Incorporated in gold and other precious metal futures contracts. Okay, so it's quite obvious. You guys are right in suspecting that gold is manipulated, because it indeed is. Typically, alleged the CFTC, the employees place a small lot order on one side of a market and larger lot orders on the other side of the same market for the purpose of artificially moving the market to effectuate the execution of the small lot order. As soon as the small lot order was executed, the larger lot orders were canceled. DB was also charged with manipulation and attempted manipulation, and UBS was additionally charged with attempted manipulation as well. The CFTC claimed that one DB and one UBS employee placed orders to try to trigger customers' stop-loss orders to benefit proprietary trading. DBSI, a registered futures commission merchant, was charged with the failure to supervise, according to the CFTC. DBSI maintained a surveillance system that detected many instances of potential spoofing by DB traders whose accounts it carried. However, said the CFTC, DBSI failed to follow up on the majority of potential flagged issues. The CFTC acknowledged each firm's cooperation during its investigation. The Commission additionally noted that UBS self-reported its own misconduct in response to a firm-initiated internal investigation. The CFTC said that it was previously not aware of the misconduct. Additionally, the CFTC charged Jatish Thacker and Edge Financial Technologies Incorporated, a company Mr. Thacker founded and for which he served as president, with spoofing and engaging in a manipulative and deceptive scheme for designing software that was used by an unnamed trader to engage in spoofing activities. This enforcement action was filed in a federal court in Chicago, Illinois. According to the CFTC, Mr. Thacker and Edge Financial aided and abetted the unnamed trader's spoofing by designing a custom back of book function. This function automatically and continuously modified the trader's spoofing orders by one lot to move them to the back of relevant order queues to minimize their chance of being executed, and canceled all spoofing orders at one price level as soon as any portion of an order was executed. The CFTC said that the unnamed trader admitted using using the back of book function to engage in spoofing activities involving E-mini S&P futures contracts traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange from January 30th through October 30th, 2013. It appears from language in a parallel criminal complaint also filed against Mr. Thacker in a federal court in Chicago, Illinois, that the trader he is alleged to have assisted was likely Navender Sarao, Sarao. In November 2016, Mr. Sarao pleaded guilty to criminal charges for allegedly engaging in manipulative conduct through spoofing type activity involving E-mini S&P futures contracts traded on the CME between April 2010 and April 2015, including illicit trading that contributed to the May 6, 2010 flash crash. He also settled a CFTC enforcement action related to the same conduct. Previously, Mr. Thacker has served as a member of the High-Frequency Trading Subcommittee of the CFTC's Technology Advisory Committee. The CFTC also filed civil complaints against Cedric Chanu, Andre Flotron, Krishna Mohan, James Borley, and Jiangxing Chao, alleging spoofing and engaging in a manipulative and deceptive scheme. The DOJ announced that criminal complaints were filed against the same persons as well as Edward Bases and John Pasilio. The criminal case against Mr. Flotron was filed in September 2017. Both the civil and criminal actions were filed in federal courts in Connecticut, Illinois, and Texas. CME brought and settled a disciplinary action against Mr. Zhao, alleging disruptive trading in November 2017. To resolve the CME action, Mr. Zhao agreed to pay a fine of $35,000 and be barred from access to all CME Group exchanges for 10 business days. That doesn't sound like a major fine or penalty. $35,000, you guys, and 10 business days, okay? That's what he agreed to. But prior to the filing of the 8 criminal actions by the DOJ, only 3 persons had previously been criminally prosecuted for spoofing. My view, the settlement against DB for spoofing and DBSI for failure to supervise was resolved by an agreement by the firms to jointly and severally pay a fine of $30 million. In settlements, the rationale for any provision, including the precise amount of a fine, is correctly not part of the public record. As a result, it would be disingenuous to speculate why any one provision might have been agreed. Hopefully, however, through this settlement, the CFTC is not signaling that it decreased the acts of a principal spoofer with the failure of carrying FCM to follow up on its surveillance systems detection and possible misconduct by a customer. If this was the CFTC's intent, it raises the supervisory obligation of FCMs to a new and highly unfair level. Certainly, the commission of an illegal act or even the affirmative aiding and abetting of such act must be regarded as far more serious than the failure of a carrying broker to act after it detects such potential misconduct through its ordinary surveillance system. This matter is the second recent settlement entered into by the CFTC in recent months that seems to impose an extraordinarily high standard for oversight responsibility. Let's see, I think I'm going to end that right there, and maybe I'll do a part 2, 3, 4, maybe part 4 or part 3. I think I'm going on. Maybe not. I'll let you guys read the read the remainder of the article. I'll post it along with the podcast. Well, basically, the bottom line so far is the implications are dramatic, mainly because we have central bankers, we have international banks, we have major banks in the United States, and no one is complying with any of the rules and regulations that they're supposed to be complying with. And at the highest levels, again, everybody's implicated. Wells Fargo, CBS, Wells Fargo, UBS, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, central bankers, everyone's implicated. Proprietary trading, manipulation, Forex, you name it. There's not one single aspect of finance in the finance industry that's not corrupt and being manipulated to the benefit of the companies involved and governments involved, for that matter. So anyway, I'm going to leave on that note. And let's see, the last sentence was, this matter is the second recent settlement entered into by the CFTC in recent months that seems to impose extraordinarily high standard of oversight and responsibility on FCMs. So anyway, that's where we left off. If we start again, we're going to do this other paragraph just a few months ago. That's where it starts. Okay, so just so you guys will know where I left off and where I'm going to start. Part 3 is going to be starting with just a few months ago in regards to Merrill Lynch's activity. So anyway, as I like to say at the conclusion of every podcast, you guys keep your eyes and ears open and stay safe out there. Have a good day. Thank you. Take care. Bye.